Well, here we are. Summer break, been and gone.
Summer's over.
Some say that people work in podcast seasons because they need to revamp things, but actually we just took a break, didn't we?
Well, I've
Right.
got a pink light now. Pink light.
Yeah, I know you've upgraded. So there is.
I've upgraded.
Technically, we could say we were away hard, working hard on.
Yeah.
I mean, mine's different. It's yours is different.
Yeah.
So okay, let's go with it on that basis and not tell anybody that basically we just bunked off over the summer. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Good. I'm happy with that.
Resistance is futile.
Welcome to the podcast.
Where we explore what's happening with AI, business, automation and culture and ask,
Where on earth is all this going? I'm going to name drop right here at the beginning about a couple of things that are coming up. Well, first one is you're going to be supporting Charlie Brooker, no less.
Yeah, wait, you say supporting. I mean, I'm on after him. So technically, he's supporting me.
And is he aware of this?
No, not yet. I mean, he might be aware on the day that I go up like a total fanboy. I was asking my son, who's a big fan as well of
Don't
BlackBerry,
embarrass
kind of
yourself
like
after
I was
two
asking,
Chardonnays.
like, what do you do? What do you do when you meet your hero? You met your hero recently, didn't you? And what's the best approach?
Yeah. Well, be humble.
Okay.
Hopefully they're as brilliant in person as they are normally. And I found that, So as you say, I did meet a hero. I was at lunch with Steve Keen. I have met him. I do his live stream. So of course we do chat, but it's very different actually going and having a beer and having a natter. And it was good fun. So that's another name drop because Steve Keen will be on this podcast at a date to be worked out with him. But we'll be talking about his concerns, I guess, for the species, because he doesn't think we'll make it because of climate change. But he said, let's say we did, and that was my conversation with him a lot. Let's say we did, what could AI and technology really do? And then we got into space mining, space elevators around the Earth and factories and all sorts of things that really could go well for humanity as a whole if we work this out. But so it's going to be a really interesting chat.
I think I can already throw a spanner in the works to that dream. Did you see the news on Twitter this morning about the Boeing spaceship thing? They've heard pulsating noises coming through the external microphone. You see it?
What? So they can't do podcasts in space? Is that what you're saying?
Basically, it interrupts the feed. So it's,
no,
it could be. I mean, who knows? It could be aliens. I think this is it. We found aliens.
Finally. Well, can they just turn up because it's really annoying? and anyway. They've been only visiting the States for so long. I think it's time that's, when aliens visit Britain, I'm going to start believing. Okay, but until then, it's just Russian disinformation, which is well known.
Post Brexit, now we're doing new trade deals. So hopefully now we're out of the EU.
We can do trade deals with the Martians.
We do trade deals with aliens.
I think the tariffs on stuff coming from Alpha Centauri is going to be pretty hefty.
It's going to be a kicker.
Let alone the courier bill. Anyway, that's we digress. So you've got loads of updates, and I've been following some of your things on LinkedIn, and I noticed there's a few run-ins you've had with bots at the booking service for Oasis, among other things. So give me an update.
Well, let's start with Oasis. I mean, that's the hot topic. So as viewers all know, I have a company that does automation and AI. We build bots that do the work that humans do. So there wasn't just a little twinge of irony when I queued. First of all, I queued to get into the queue to buy Oasis tickets. And then I got into the queue and it said there was 300,000 people in front of you. And I watched that kind of whittle down slowly over about 4.5 hours during the day. And I was in the car driving somewhere and my wife checked my phone and said, there's 6 in front of you. I was like, wow, okay, right, let's pull over. So I pull over, 1 in front of me. I was very, very excited. And then as it refreshed the page to show me my options of what ridiculously priced tickets I could try and get, it popped up a message saying, we suspect that you're a bot, that you're automating this process, and it's this very suspicious activity. So therefore, go back to the beginning of the queue and start again.
I always suspected, to be honest with you. So now you've been outed. I'm kind of happy. We can have a more honest relationship. Jamie, or should I say Jamie 32017?
That's it.
T2.
Yes. So that's it. So the long and short of it was I didn't get any tickets to Oasis. I'm very upset.
No great loss.
Well,
I mean, honestly, they've had
400 quid a ticket. It was no way I was going to get him anyway. So
I mean, I know I'm offending some fans that might
Yeah.
be listening, but honestly, I mean, they are great. I think they are, but
Yeah.
it did seem odd that I think it seemed egregious that they're earning more in a couple of days than they did in the whole of the 90s.
I had this theory that when they kind of split up or had an argument, as they were famous for doing, they made an arrangement that 20 years later they would do a comeback. They never fell out. It was pure, kind of performance.
That's
And
quite
then this is it.
quite an arrangement, isn't it?
Well, I think that's what they did.
Yeah, and also 20 years is a long time.
Yeah.
You know, you might
That's what-
discover Buddhism or something, and then you've
Yeah.
lost your contract with your brother,
Yeah. Yeah.
or vice versa. Anyway,
Yeah.
all right. So that was We finally discovered you're a bot, or
Yep.
suspected. What else has
Yep.
been in the news?
So some big stuff, lots of stuff happening. So everyone's favorite AI, OpenAI and ChatGPT. So they need more money because they're growing. They need more and more servers and processing units and things like that. So they're going to be going out, not to the market. They're still not public, but they're going out and asking for more investment. And this is particularly interesting because up until now, Microsoft have been their single biggest investor with about, I think it's 11 billion. A small change for Microsoft, but quite a lot of cash. And now OpenAI are looking for more. And the rumors are that not only will Microsoft be putting more money in, but now Apple are going to put a ton of money in as well. And this
With
is
caveats,
interesting.
maybe.
Yeah, and it's been interesting following Apple because if listeners or viewers remember, Apple kind of made their big announcement that they're now launching their AI that's going to allow you to do kind of autonomous stuff on your phone. Basically makes I have to be quiet here. Makes Siri good. And
Yeah, we're the judge of that. I mean, come on.
yeah.
Anyway, we can probably do a side by side Siri versus OpenAI chat when that
Yeah.
happens. But yeah,
And see
all
what
right, keep
happens.
going.
So some of their AI stuff is produced by or run by OpenAI and ChatGPT. So it's really interesting now. You've got basically the two biggest players who are both two biggest competitors historically, who are now both going to be big investors into OpenAI, which I think makes OpenAI by far the biggest player in the market. And there was kind of linked to that. There were some interesting articles someone posted in a group that I'm in, saying that there was one survey that had basically shown that Meta's Llama, which is their AI kind of open source language, was the biggest and most widely used AI. But a straw poll of all
Really?
the people that I know and what we use as a business, no one's using Llama, everyone's using OpenAI. And that was then kind of echoed back. So I don't know where the survey came from.
I mean,
Anthropic, yeah.
is the other one, and I think it depends. I tried different prompts in both Anthropic and in OpenAI. I found them both absolutely excellent. And I know there's definitely there's forming opinions, but I thought Anthropic was the other major one, or Claude, basically.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the numbers, but I was sure that. So that's an odd one. That seems like an outlier.
I don't know where that came out. And I always, whenever there are things like that, I always come up and it's what I say to clients as well, which is, Meta have done it's totally free. You can use Llama as kind of like a ChatGPT, but totally free. And you have to always ask yourself what is free,
Yeah.
Well,
especially with Meta. Well, actually with all of them, but Meta were the first, to really hook the fingers into your private data and use it.
And I was at an
there'll
event
be a
recently,
Cambridge Analytica style thing, and then we'll all remember. Oh, that's right. It's really dumb having all this stuff in your in your own personalized AI.
Well, there was I was at an event recently, and there was one of the guests was this woman who I'd not heard of called Kara Swisher, and she's a very well known apparently journalist who for the last 25 years has focused purely on tech. So and she's very blunt and very kind of upfront about what she thinks, and she's got a book called The Bird Book, all about the history of tech and all the rest of it. And there's a bit in there where she basically says any of these multi-billionaire big tech owners, the Musks and the Zuckerbergs, all these kind of people, whenever they say they're doing something for altruism and for the greater good of humanity, it's all bullshit. Of course it is. They don't do stuff just for the good of humanity. They're doing it to build.
I think so, but I also do believe that in their bubble, they genuinely believe their own bullshit because they have to in order to really sell it and get into character, as it were. So to the degree that they believe it, I think we've talked about this before, but the idea, a little bit of psychology behind screenwriting that I was doing a while back, well known amongst script writers for screeners. If you want to make believable characters, you've got to know that even villains really live by a code. In fact, they're the ones that are more dangerous because they live by an exact code and they believe their own stuff. So I think they, especially Musk, really believes.
I was going to say that makes him even more scary.
100%. I mean, not always wrong on everything, but Zuckerberg's the same. I think he's become a bit more, it seems like in a personal capacity, he seems to have become a bit more realistic in his own failings, but about his own failings. But yeah, no, this is a common thing. So yeah, I'm not just picking on Musk or Zuckerberg. This is what it takes to achieve at that level, I think. And we're at the moment. Who are the Chinese versions of Musk and Zuckerberg though? And that's a big thing because the Chinese government doesn't just run AI; they use private companies as well. But I don't know who those
players are.
Yeah, who those players are.
Maybe we should do an episode on Chinese AI because they've just released a big video AI generator as well that I've just been noticing over the last day or so. And
also a whole series of bots that are much more impressive, I think, than any of the Western-led companies.
The real bots, the robots.
Yeah. So, and there's one that caught your eye as well. I've seen kicking around. Tell me about that one.
So this one, it basically looks like a guy in a jumpsuit. I mean, and this is kind of quite laughable because it's basically, you see it doing things like a woman's sitting on a sofa, putting her shoes on, and the robot picks up a bag and hands her the bag and does stuff like that. So the idea is, the general premise is that we will all have at least one of these robots living in our house doing chores and tasks that we don't know.
My marriage is in serious trouble. I saw this and I thought, if Fiona finds out that there's some stuffed, I mean, let's not do any jokes about, have you seen the other accessories? Because let's just not go there. But the fact that it could do all these chores and without any complaints, without any quibbling about who does what, it was like, oh, hang on, But at the same time, come on, they're testing the market, and nobody's biting because who's going? Oh, yeah, I've got loads of things that's going to work. It's just so inconceivable that you do that. You get better appliances, but these are industrial robots, surely.
They're going to start as industrial. It's always going to start as industrial, but you can see it happening. So we just came back from holiday. There was, as with everyone, you got like 3 loads of washing or whatever needs doing. A load of washing, and you got to clean out the fridge because you forgot to take some stuff out because it's got a bit smelly in the fridge, and all this kind of change the sheets, all these kind of things. You get back from holiday, right? And we both said to each other, like, oh, it's lovely going on holiday, but then you forget, well, when you get back, you got these kind of ruins this side of it. Imagine, Dave, you could ring up, our bot, say, bot, well, you wouldn't ring it up. You'd obviously, I was about to ring the bot, but you wouldn't do that. You'd message bot and say, look, can you just get the house ready? We're coming back at like 1 a.m. We're going to arrive. We're going to leave the suitcases in the hallway. Can you just get it all done so that when we wake up, imagine, it would all be done. I mean, it doesn't matter how good the bloody appliance is, you've still got to get something to take the stuff out, separate the whites and the blacks and all that kind of stuff.
And the proof's in the pudding, put it that way. I think, put it this way, when they start getting women who do pretty much all of this stuff still, and this is not a dig, this is just fact. And we've got a marriage in which we've swapped roles before, and I've been at home working, looking after kids, and Fee's been full time, and I know just how difficult it is. And even then, Fee was still doing quite a bit. So it's like women have ended up doing this. If they're the ones that are going, yes, we want one of these things, then I'll believe it. But when it's men pushing it, I just don't think it'll take off.
I think it will. I think it'll
be a gimmick.
Let's circle back in 10 years' time.
I tell you what, if the bot knows to separate the reds from the whites, and in the washing, then women will be like, yes, I'm marrying one of these things. But until
Can I tell
then,
you a funny story about bots and relationships?
Go on.
I had a conversation many, many years ago.
This sounds dodgy already.
Yeah, it is very. Cut this immediately. I don't want this on the live stream. And we were talking about how, I mean, this is probably about 10 years ago. We were talking about how if you got to the point where robots were like, remember that TV show, the BBC show, Robots, or where it was, or Humans, in fact, it was called.
See, you are a bot. You're confusing the two all the time.
See, I'm just back from
Humans.
holiday, you know.
Yeah.
Humans. It was it was basically these robots that look exactly like human, and they
Right.
help around the house and do everything. They do everything, and I'll be honest, the actress playing the robot was rather attractive, and my friend and I were saying, well, to our respective partners, we're saying if a man, it could work both ways, but if a man was to have a relationship, a physical relationship, that's what happens in the series. They hack the robot, and then the husband has sex with the robot. Would that constitute being unfaithful? And of course, our partners at the time said, yes, absolutely, that would be unfaithful.
Not to
Right,
mention weird.
Yeah, don't
I
worry
think
about
weird
that,
would
Dave.
come
You're
above
overthinking it.
unfaithful. I think your partner would be like, okay, first of all, you're super weird and I'm out. And then secondly, you're unfaithful. So let's get the right priorities. But okay. go on.
Okay. And we said, well, okay, why would that be unfaithful? They said, well, because it has a face. This was the response. It has a
Oh,
face.
because it has a face.
So I said, well, hold on a second. Women and men use certain toys, and it's a very delicate subject, okay, but that they use toys.
Yeah.
Is that being unfaithful? And she said, well, of course it's not, because it doesn't have a face. And I said, well, what if we stuck a face on the toy? Would now it be unfaithful? I mean, we're going into deep psychology here.
I've nothing to say to this, honestly. I'm just going to get myself in trouble. But the idea that it's just a face is really unusual. Like
That's
that
why
became
all
the thing.
new
And this
bots
was
coming out.
so
don't
both
have
partners
faces.
thought it was the face that was the problem.
Yeah, it's the face.
Yeah.
That's why none of them got faces. They've got blank faces, all these robots that you're seeing coming out.
Well, I thought
They
for the
realised.
most part they were screens, weren't they? So that you could put anything
Yeah.
on them, including faces or data or whatever you want. But that was,
It's,
and then that was coming later. What are you thinking?
It's putting data on the face, that would ruin the moment, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yeah, very much. Hold on. Incoming message. Yeah. So, all right. So apart from robot
Sorry,
sex,
it's like tangent there. Sorry.
yeah, what else has been going on over the summer that caught your eye?
Okay, so another type of automation using AI. So this, I think, this potentially could be really big, depending on how well it's executed. But there's a lot of talk in the world of automation and AI about the kind of the death of call centers. There's a lot of us using now chatbots. You go onto a website, you want some help, and you can chat with a live bot. That can be quite infuriating, but now that's really getting a lot better because of the conversational AI. But there's definitely a frustration that, sometimes, in fact, a lot of companies remove all the phone numbers. So now that's the only way that you can communicate.
Yeah. It does feel premature in the sense that they're not good enough to untangle really complex things, which is more frustrating then. And so you want to end up talking to a human. But I can see it, at least with call centers, it does feel like it'll get to a stage where we might want to talk to the bot rather than a human. But I don't think we're there by miles.
No, well, what this company, they're called Bland.ai, BLAND.ai. They've just raised a ton of money as well, because rather than it being an incoming call center, this is an outbound call center. So, when you get those very infuriating cold calls that says, oh, hi, Dave, I saw that you clicked on, robotswithfaces.com and would you like to buy one? It basically, now
it's a slightly
automates.
less crap version of that in theory.
Yeah. It basically is not humans doing that. It's a automated human voice doing it. And I have to say, if you go and look at some of the examples on YouTube, it's pretty clever. So it says, hi, Dave, I saw you clicked on the the link. Are you interested? And you said, yeah, I'm quite interested. He goes, oh, okay. What was it about it that you liked? And blah, blah, blah. It's pretty good.
So I saw it as well. And my instinct was, of course, it'll get more advanced. But if you know that's a bot, and if that becomes culturally the thing that happens, I reckon you'll get backlash. There's nothing worse than the human bit where you're supposed to get a call from a human being a fake human and even one that's sophisticated and trying to make you emotionally involved with it. I just think, especially with sales, look, maybe this is me, tooting my own horn a bit, but with sales conversion, which is the space I work in with video, what are people doing, thinking that the human bit can now be outsourced? Outsource all the other stuff. But I
Yeah,
know it's
true.
just because as soon as you've ever felt like you're being techniqued by a human, it's such an off-put. Well, but how about if it's by a robot and you're being techniqued? That is, I'm
Might be
not going
better.
to buy
It
that
might be
product.
better than the human. Maybe it'll be better than the human.
So if what you're buying is not in the high-end category, like it's not an expensive service or product, I think you're right. I think, look, it's a process you just got to get done. It might be an upgrade to a mobile service. It's not a big expensive thing.
Yeah.
I actually think you're probably right. But these are where it gets curly is when you actually want to trust somebody because you want to be able to go to a human and go, hey, I've got a problem. Well, if you haven't got that in that service and that's the one that's getting shoved down your phone line, I'd be pretty annoyed. So I think it'll depend how it's deployed. But maybe you're right. Maybe it's it'll be use case dependent. But it just seemed, I just felt the hairs on my neck go up going, this is not where I want fake humans talking to me.
Where would you like fake humans talking to you?
If at all, it'll be on the call center only thing where I'm trying to interact. I need a problem solved, and they're good at untangling complex problems.
Yeah.
Because often you end up just waiting in queues for a human who would know no better. And and they don't have the authority to override a weird scenario anyway. So you may as well talk to a bot.
I think it's going to be a really interesting space to watch because, as you know, I've got two businesses. One of them is a support company, an IT company. So we were outsourced IT for many companies, and I'm not saying at all that we would ever replace our staff with these types of things, but when you're looking at something that requires technical assistance, excuse me, you need the human element, absolutely, but actually a lot of engineers may only have experience up to a certain level. So it could be, whereas a bot that's connected to an AI that's as good conversationally, the ability for it to be able to delve into all the knowledge base and the understanding and problem solving, it's going to be an interesting time, I think, on this area.
Yeah, when this all really kicked off in November 22, at least with OpenAI, and it became a much more common topic of conversation, because up till then, I think most people had limited exposure to this sort of technology. It seemed obvious then that that call centers replaced with chatbots would be a thing. And I still, like you, I still think that is a possibility. And look, it's not like ending those jobs is on its own a bad thing, much like having the choice of automated checkout at a supermarket, right?
Yeah.
It's much more the disruption if there's let's say Claude or OpenAI, so Anthropic come up with this perfect, or Bland come up with this perfect version that can just replace people en masse. That's a big chunk of disruption going on there. There's a lot of people employed in call centers around the world.
Yeah.
So I think that's much more. It's much more the human disruption level.
Absolutely.
In principle, you could say, but they're dull jobs. I don't know. I'm not going to argue the case for or against that. But you could argue this is just normal disruption. I think always with these things, it's the speed at which we might end up with disruption, and there's no softening, blending approach into new and different work because no one knows what that is. I think that's the thing that always troubles me with this. And I think chatbots replacing call centers is one of those, don't you think?
Well, I do. I think, yes, I think it is. I think this is going to be a tipping point, and you've seen some of the voice. If you look at some of I'm still waiting for it to arrive on my phone, but the updated version of ChatGPT's voice conversation, I mean, that is insanely good in terms of its ability to change its tone, to be more sympathetic or whatever you want it to do. It's very, very good. So I do think it's a matter of time. Interestingly, I was just going to look at my phone. Someone sent me a link to an article recently that's a little shocking, talking about job losses and things like that, which is Klarna. You know, Klarna, the company that
that does the loans when you're checking out.
So if you're buying,
do you want to pay 28% on this as well? Why not?
Yeah, over 3 months.
Over 3 months.
So they are scrapping. I think I'll have to double check the fact, but I think it's 50% of their staff they're letting go to be replaced by automation and AI. So there's an argument, a lot of the kind of feedback on that is that actually they were a very overstuffed company anyway. They kind of just spent loads and loads on people. They had too many people anyway. So maybe this is just a way to reduce staff anyway. But I think this is going to be the start of a lot more articles about this and headlines about this.
Yeah. What's that saying about technology? We tend to underestimate the effects in the short term and overestimate the effects in the short term and underestimate the long-term effects. And I think we might be starting to enter the medium term now, where actually the disruption happens. But it's not the thing. This is the space I'm in. I'm torn between which things are really going to be disruptive and which things are just ridiculous hype. Like the AGI hype does my noodle in. I just can't stand people banging on about AGI or ASI turning up tomorrow and fixing everything, including climate change. Utter bollocks. People don't even know what consciousness is, let alone what AGI might be. Yeah. So intelligence, yes, but the idea that it'll be both conscious, subjective experiences plus intelligence and also feeling and caring about us, they're just conversations for people with autism, I think it seems to be, because those are the sorts of people that are talking about it in rapturous terms. Yes, and the rest of us are going, hang on, I've got dodgy Wi-Fi and mismatched socks as my daily reality. I've got to get to work. I don't have time for this. And I feel like our time is being wasted in conversations about stuff that's way too abstract. Whereas what you're talking about here is, this is the pointy end. There are very real jobs that are going to be replaced quickly. And then again, and this is because I'm torn, we had that conversation with Peter about the fact that we don't have the people to fill these roles in manufacturing in the UK at the moment. And we need bots to have them. So the space is very uneven about where the disruption will be and also how pronounced it will be, how quickly. And I think that's what I find hard to get my handle on, my head around. And that's probably why I'm a mixture of skeptical and excited. Whereas you're very kind of like, it'll be fine. These are exciting times.
Yeah, I'm an optimist. Always have been, always will be. Just talking about kind of disruption actually, and I guess more definitely or firmly in your area, is I'm starting to see a lot now that AI video has kind of taken off. I think it's really interesting to see. So, we're nowhere near a Hollywood movie being done or a promotional video like some of the stuff that you do being replaced. But what I am starting to see is a kind of, and I do like this, is there's a new type of creativity based on the weirdness that comes from making AI videos. So I don't know if you played with any of these tools. So I did one the other day. I was with my son, and I told it, to create something, and it just created this weird. They're like dreams. It just kind of like it'll be me and my son just talking, and then we kind of morph into cats, and then we're surfing, and it's all a bit weird. But people are now using that as an art form in its own right. It's quite interesting to see. So I'm interested in your take on this.
It's hard to find a correlation creatively that we've had like this. I wonder if it's similar to the takeoff in desktop publishing with the early PCs, and people were suddenly doing things that only big publishing houses were able to do. So publish really high-end brochures, pamphlets, books, whatever themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like that on steroids times 10. I think it'll just create a world where lots of things get better and people are able to just do them without asking. So we end up consuming a higher standard of content. That's my hope. I don't think it does anything more than that, although it is clever. But also you have to be, especially as a brand, you're going to have to be more careful about publishing things that just don't, that look generic. Yes. Because you're right, it's developed as a style. And if you just see stuff, there's a whole thing there where you publish something that's like, you can only so long get away with the gimmick of, look, here's some AI generated content. And then after a while it'll be like, so basically you just churned out this goop, with a few prompts. That's going to get old real quick. So it's not that it'll go away, but it'll be that some people are doing really clever things with it and they're going to do really well with it. And for everybody else, it'll be really clear they're just doing it using an AI to make some goop, and it'll be like, whatever. I do find myself feeling a little bit, it's just AI, and going past it a bit. I don't I don't really engage with it as much. But
Okay.
yeah, look, there's going to be uses of it.
Yeah.
What I do think is where video has people in it and they're actually still the actual people and not even the AI avatars, which is a
Yeah.
total possibility, I know.
Yeah.
I do think you're going to get good engagement with that over time with the niche audience. So that's happening is the video use cases are niching down into,
Okay.
and this is where I've put my efforts into helping people with sales conversion using video, because in that space, that's the right space to be seeing people and to be guiding people to a purchase or guiding people on how to use their product, all that sort of stuff. That is a much better use of video. And also because that's the person that you would feel you can contact and you're going to get human type responses. And then merge that with some fun promo stuff that might be, AI generated, and mix and match. So I just think it's another, it sounds, we've talked about this a lot. Sometimes it sounds a bit flip, but it is just another tool in that case. And I think if people just focus on look how cool it is to merge a cat with a guitar, then it's going to get old real quick. That's my observation.
Just to kind of for again our viewers and listeners, just to blow a bit of smoke up your arse, Dave. You did some work for us with one of our clients, and I've sent that out to, or it's kind of gone out on even on social media, and I've sent it to a few potential client prospects as well. And the feedback has been amazingly positive. So you know, you did an absolutely fantastic. You and the team did a fantastic job. So
pleasure.
Yeah, so you did very well. Just now something slightly kind of a bit geeky. This is for our geeky listeners.
Go on, nerd out on us.
So I'm going to nerd out just for a second. So many years ago, I was a programmer, and obviously one of the big things that people are talking about is programming. The thing that you think would never, ever be replaced by AI. Now, things like Anthropic's Claude and ChatGPT can generate code at like an amazing speed, and it's brilliant code, and it can create apps and things very, very quickly and easily. And there was a bit of chatter going on some forum that I'm on. And someone said, why is the AI having to use human language to program? Surely that is a bottleneck for the AI. Why don't we just let it program in its like, language? I'm sure that's the language of robots. Why don't we just let it create its own language and just program in that? I mean, what could possibly go wrong with that? AI and robots talking to each other in a language we don't understand. I can't see any problem in the future with that at all.
Is a handful of milliseconds just not fast enough? I mean, what are they what benefit does it have? Look, I'm sure it does have a benefit, but I just don't understand how it's like someone looks at the code being churned out seconds after you put in a prompt, and they go, "Oh, well, that could have been faster." I mean,
but it could be more efficient as code. It could be like machine language, just like literally zeros and ones. We don't even need to be involved anymore.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
Maybe I'm the only one getting
guess
excited by this.
But does it? Yeah, like within a generation anyway, we're going to have even the experts say this, we're going to have very few coders. There will be the top coders at the top end making the code for AI really. And then under that, you just pretty much ask for what you need, right? So it does sound right. But at the moment, there's the ability of people to interrogate the code that's been made and go, I'm going to move this and change that. Yeah, what happens? You've got this black box of
you
can speak
it as well. You can understand it.
Outed myself. I've doxed myself. My address is 011100011110. You find me. So yeah, it's the black box thing.
Yeah,
isn't it? So what could possibly go wrong? Tell me, Jamie. Practically speaking.
Well, I think this enables us to go full circle, because I think I might ask Charlie Brooker when I meet him. I might say, what's going to happen when one robot's going and the other one's going and we can't understand it? I mean, he might even commission me to help him write an episode. What do you think?
Oh yeah, let's do that. Can I just look over his shoulder when he's writing? Because I love writing. I love screenwriting. Or I've had a dabbling in it in the past, and I I love that process. And it's not just the coming up with ideas, because that's not enough. You're going to brainstorm, fine. But it's when you start putting it to paper and start working out how to make the audience go with you. That's the art, and he's a absolute master. So any involvement, I'd just love to meet him. He's just a very interesting guy. Would Charlie Brooker, what would he make of robots talking to other robots and having their own life? I think there's been plenty of content about that sort of thing. And
that's got to be. I mean,
that's Black Mirror,
it's
definitely.
Obvious. This is endgame as far as I'm concerned, because effectively, once we can't understand what they're talking about, and they're basically hyper intelligent and just doing the task to the best of its ability, we're out the loop. I always talk in my talks about, human in the loop. You got to keep the human in the loop. Well, the bots may say we no longer need the human in the loop. We're better than you.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I just see them still talking to each other in their own gobbledygook and really not just being not indifferent, but just still doing what we ask them to do. I mean, anytime there's a trail of conversation that you ask something to do something, as soon as the prompt's end, it stops. It's just, there's the argument, if anybody listening's not heard of it before, but the argument that hyper intelligence could end up with a paperclip type scenario where you ask it to make some paper clips and it never stops and turns the entire world into paper clips, sort of thing. And I always feel like it assumes such a level of power that we've given over to one individual part of it. But these systems are all decentralized. I don't ever see us unifying them into one, internet mind per se.
Maybe we should be more worried about if Elon Musk decides that the world needs more paper clips.
Yeah, I'd
probably
be
more scary.
Currently more worried about that. But here's the thing, and here's the crux of that. Right now, of all the things that you'd worry about, Musk taking over the world isn't on its own one of them. I still have issues with his politics, but that doesn't matter. He's relatively benign. What if we settle this up so that people like Musk, can really achieve an enormous amount of power? And he's not even really in the AI scene apart from his Tesla bots. And you could argue maybe because of the self-driving parts of Tesla. But, other people are much more knees deep in this space and could tomorrow end up being the multi-trillionaires that we don't have right now. And those people may not have the same transparency and openness as Musk. At least we know to criticize Musk because we know what he's thinking.
Yeah, it's true. It's I don't know. I still don't trust the guy. I don't know if you've been following what's been going on with Brazil and his.
I don't. It's not a matter of not trusting. It's a matter of knowing exactly what he's saying is actually what he means, and he believes it. I don't think he's tried to be as transparent as he can. I don't think he's hiding it. He's got Asperger's. I don't think he can. He actually believes what he's saying, and that is quite troubling. When you hear some of the stuff he's said about, it's like, dude, you're in your own bubble here. There's a lot of other viewpoints.
But it's the unfettered, unfiltered power, because now just the sheer wealth of these people, they're starting to get virtually more power than governments now, and I think that is a undemocratic, kind of dictatorship type power.
Yeah,
and I think that in itself is terrifying.
Yeah, and look, sovereign individual libertarian types, especially in the States that I encounter on Twitter, are very okay with this. They would basically aspire to be that themselves. And they don't see that democracy is required. A benign strongman thing is something they aspire to themselves. And I think there's a disconnect there in the conversation. Most of them equate consumer type buying power with democracy. They think the market is democracy and democratic. And that's an American disease. And I come across it quite a bit where people don't understand. No, hang on. The people you're affecting don't get to outvote you with their dollars. So they're in effect not part of your democracy that you think is a democracy. And
it's a bit of a zero-sum game as well, because I think I like watching Gary Stevenson and kind of Gary's economics and things like that. And that all works out relatively okay for a bit, but what seems to happen then is the gap between the haves and the have-nots just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, because ultimately it's totally driven by an unfiltered market. And
Well, this is something we can chat about with Steve Keen, because he'll pull apart Gary's economics a little bit, because Gary understands the finance industry that he was in, but he's almost illiterate about macroeconomics and fiscal policy. He doesn't know and won't entertain the idea that money is spent into existence at the government level, which changes a lot of what he talks about. But anyway, so that's on that issue. But he is the most decent guy, and he genuinely is concerned about the right things, which are inequality. So and this was a conversation I had with Steve, actually, and I'll bring up again on the show these on. But the idea that the poorest are better off than kings and queens of 250 years ago is not in itself the argument. That is true materially, but once you get to the point where it's so skewed that you've got democracy skewing levels of inequality, then you do end up with a different kind of fiefdom or feudalism, in which people are, like say, are so wealthy they can accumulate resources, any resources that they need to themselves to do whatever they want. And people that are, albeit with a better standard of living than kings and queens, are now out of the conversation for doing anything themselves. They are basically still shoved around and into places to do work for, as underlings for the new feudal lords.
And worst of all is they cannot afford Oasis tickets.
Well, that's the beginning of the end right there.
Yeah, it's,
or worse, they become,
title, wasn't it?
They get discovered as bots. Yeah. The beginning. You should have used there's an Oasis lyric there that you can use.
Definitely.
Don't look back in anger isn't going to cut it. That's used all the time. But something obscure. I think Champagne Supernova is where we're heading, and
actually,
I'll be on the beach in a Champagne Supernova while the bots take over.
Little trivia, the Oasis song "Cast No Shadow." You know that song?
No.
No, okay. It was written about. You're obviously not a big enough fan, but it was written about Richard Ashcroft, the lead singer of The Verve.
Right.
Yesterday, I was out for dinner in this little cute Italian restaurant, just for a day out in Kensington, and Richard Ashcroft was 2 tables down.
Oh, right.
We're name dropping all over the place here.
You
are.
Although that's not as exciting as the other, but it's nice that you saw him. He didn't do anything, but there he was, and he is human. He does have to eat occasionally.
Reel it back into humans and bots.
Yeah, very good. Let's leave it there. That was very interesting update. I'm very excited that you're going to be in contact in the same room as Charlie Brooker, and I'll try not to call you when you're there and try to get a conversation with him or anything embarrassing like that, or turn up behind you when you're going across the stage and go,
ticket.
I know Jamie as well, by the way, because that would be really sad.
I've got a link. This is a blatant plug. It's a big event for kind of MSPs and IT people, anyone involved in IT. It's in Barcelona in October. So there's a link which gives you a free ticket. So if you want to come and see Charlie Brooker and potentially meet him, there's your chance.
Very good. All right, mate. Good to be back.
Yeah, it's good. See you soon.
Resistance is futile.